Hello guys, what is up? Today we're going to go over how to come up with the perfect experiment. Alright, so there's three things that we need to focus on, and please write these down because they're very important. So number one is focus on the variable that changes. Number two, set up a range of known values for the variable that changes. And number three, make sure everything else is constant. These things are called your controls, and they are very important for your experiment to be proper. Okay, number one, focus on the variable that changes. Okay, so let's say you are asked to figure out how much salt is in a solution. So let's say, I don't know, let's say we went to the zoo, we got a sample of water, and you're like, hey, how much salt is in here? Okay, so your job is to figure out what changes by this salt being in the water. And this is where you have to do your research. But luckily for you, I already have. And for this example, we know that density, boiling point, and freezing point change. Okay? Number two, set up a range of known values for the variable that changes. Okay, so if density is changing, let's set up a range for it. So over here we have 6%, 12%, and 18%. And they all have different densities. Okay? And now we know that our unknown solution has a density of 1.20 grams per milliliter. And so what we did in the last step is we made this beautiful graph right here from our data that we got. And as you can see, this 1.20, we're going to line it up right over here. Line it up, line it up, line it up, and boom. We know that this is the percent salt solution inside our sample. And as we know from this graph, we can assume that because the density is 1.20, the salt solution is going to be between 12 and 18. Okay? So that's going to be 15. Okay? So 15% is our salt solution. All right? And one thing to notice, which is very important, you'll be quizzed on this, is independent versus dependent variables. So your dependent variable changes based off of your independent. So when we're adding more salt, our density is changing. So that is going to be our dependent variable. And finally, make sure everything else is constant in your experiment. Once again, they're called controls. So make sure you're using the same salts, the same temperature. And temperature, by the way, can affect your density. Same instruments, and even the same person. So the reason why you want the same person is because they might have a different interpretation of what value is what. And it's always good if one person's starting the experiment, let him do it the whole way through. All right, guys. Well, I hope this helped.